Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Leah Mofati, and welcome to Taste of Sonoma, presented by Visa Signature. I have the distinct pleasure of working with Kendall-Jackson today on today's garden tour and cooking class. If you're not familiar, Sonoma County is home to world-class wines and remarkable winemakers, and Taste of Sonoma is a celebration of that. Plus the wonderful food that goes along with it, and the farmers and the agriculture along with that. Speaking of, if you haven't opened your wine bottles yet, please go ahead and do that. Pour yourself a glass. We'll be starting with the Chardonnay in just a minute. But before we get started, I do want to show another short video of the Visa Signature program, who is our presenting sponsor for Taste of Sonoma and has been for many years. If you have a credit card that says Visa Signature, then you have special benefits to about 50 different wineries here in Sonoma County, including Kendall-Jackson, of course, and this other winery that I'm going to show you right now named Culinary. One second.
Culinary Vineyards is more than an agricultural endeavor. It is a gathering place where people can come together and build connections and community. Sonoma County is a perfect spot for a family-owned business. We believe in sustainable farming, fine wine, fresh fruits and vegetables, and building community. Here in Sonoma County, Culinary Vineyards is home to our Pinot Noir and Chardonnay grapes. We have an olive grove. We even have our own honeybees, vegetable gardens, and 2 ponds where you can enjoy yourself. Our winemaker, Carrie Gott, has created many different varietals of wine. We have everything from an unoaked Chardonnay to an Alexander Valley Zinfandel. With more than 60 grape varieties grown here in Sonoma County, there is something for everyone. Now more than ever, we all know that supporting local family-owned businesses matter. Our customers can have peace of mind knowing they're purchasing incredible wines from a family-owned business that's committed to our community.
Again, Kendall-Jackson is part of the Visa Signature program, so make sure you bring that the next time you visit them and other wineries. And now it is my pleasure to introduce you to the wonderful team at Kendall-Jackson Wine Estate and Gardens. We will start off with Randy Ullom, who is the wine master who oversees the entire portfolio at Kendall-Jackson.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
And Justin Wangler, who is our farm-to-table culinary expert in the heart of experiencing the winery.
Hello, thanks for having us.
And Tucker Taylor, our master gardener, expert in certified organic farming, and oversees the extensive gardens that you see in the background. Awesome. Well, Justin, I'm going to let you start off with the demo. Please tell us what is on the menu for today.
So we're going to make 2 dishes. We're going to have Tucker show us around the garden here in a minute, but we're going to make green goddess dressing, which is really nice because Tucker grows so many beautiful fresh herbs. So it's basically like a creamy dressing with all the wonderful fresh herbs right now, and you can put it on fish or chicken. It's great on vegetables, and Tucker brought us a bunch of beautiful baby vegetables that we can dip in. It's kind of really all-purpose sauce. And then we're also going to sear off a steak. We fired up one of the big green eggs out here, and we're going to throw a cast iron pan on there and sear some flat iron steak and serve it with a little spigarello and some cherry tomatoes that Tucker picked for me this morning. So
100% Chardonnay. It has this beautiful sort of golden hue to it. Barrel fermented in the finest French oaks that man can find. So this is really fun because we're basically going to be eating and drinking everything that came from this property, except maybe the meat. But everything else is from right here. So it's got a lot of nice fragrances in the nose. Of course, when you take this sip, you've got that nice rich round mid palate from the barrel fermentation and the leaf stirring. And the other neat thing is it's lush in the palate. It's very fresh. Has this nice long finish. It's got a little silky essence on the side from the creaminess that occurs after the malolactic fermentation. So
I'm going to agree with that, Randy. I admittedly had this with some potato chips last night, admittedly. And I noted that too, the long, wonderful sort of kind of tropical finish that I feel to this. Really wonderful.
Yeah, so it should be fun to taste this and smell the aromas as we're wandering around the gardens with Tucker.
Here we have one of my favorite crops. This is Celtuce. So Celtuce is in the lettuce family, and later on this will look like a giant head of romaine, but what we're growing is the center stalk. So it's kind of like the stalk of a broccoli, but being that it's in a lettuce family, it has a really nice nutty flavor.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's got a cool texture too. It's almost to me like almost like a water chestnut, like a really great crunch to it. Is that a beehive over there?
Yeah, so we have a top bar hive over here.
How many bees are in there?
Wow, there's tens of thousands of bees, and they're instrumental in pollination in the garden. And we have 3 different styles of beehives here, and it's a lot of fun keeping bees.
You have so many beautiful flowers going right now.
Yeah, and in addition to benefiting the bees, the flowers are attracting beneficial insects. So through the years, we have less and less pest pressure because we're bringing the garden more into balance by attracting more diversity into the garden.
So it's like an insectuary.
Yes, exactly.
Ah.
Yeah.
What are all the trees?
So all these trees are English walnuts, and they're grafted onto black walnuts. We get a lot of walnuts every year. And then also, I've been growing produce here for just over 8 years now, and redesigned the culinary garden with our farm to table dinners in mind. So where we're standing right now is where historically we've had our farm to table dinners. So once a month, May through October, we invite different guest ranchers, different guest cheesemakers from around the county, and it's a lot of fun. Randy's here, and it's just really nice to get in the garden and talk about all things Sonoma County.
It's super fun. We got live music, and we always invite the producers, and you kind of get to meet the makers, and they all walk around and talk with you, and super cool. We got the duck one coming up, which is my favorite duck, and peaches. So we have Liberty Farms duck, Jim Reichert, and then we have Gail from Dry Creek Peaches, and that's coming up. Is that next week? 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So that's second Saturday of each month. It's a lot of fun. Check out kj.com. Come meet some folks.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And we also ordered up a really nice sunset for these dinners too.
Oh yeah.
And it just goes down just past those trees there, and it's gorgeous. Sometimes the light, the sun is right behind the tree, and it glows beyond belief.
Well, I'm gonna head back to the grill.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll wander,
All right.
wander and saunter. So what's this? All mixed up.
So this is what we saw in the beginning. This is just a more advanced version of our lettuce mix, which is the base of our salad mix. So we have a seasonal salad mix that has lettuce mix, mustard mix, arugula, and then pretty much whatever is in season from week to week. So we might throw in some fennel and dill fronds and some French tarragon. Always some edible flowers. There might be some tatsoi and bok choy. So it's a really nice mix. We're really excited about this mix.
That's great.
Yeah. And then over here, you can see our mustard mix is beginning to flower.
Is that good or bad?
Well, it is what it is. It's neither good nor bad, but the beautiful thing is we have these mustard blossoms, and these are like super nicely flavored. This time of year, a little spicy, so it gives your salads a nice kick.
Is this the same mustard that grows out in the vineyards in the springtime?
This is slightly different, but pretty closely related.
Tastes good.
We have some French non-carrots. We grow a lot of baby carrots.
That's really spicy, that mustard.
Yeah. Well, it's been fairly warm, so the warmer it gets, the spicier greens in that family get. palate. Some rainbow chard, which is everybody's favorite. And right here we have some fennel. I love growing fennel. It's super versatile. But yeah, it's we have garden tours in the garden. So you can, like Justin said, go on kj.com to sign up for our garden tours. Matthew Lowe has been an ambassador for this estate for more than 20 years and a wealth of knowledge, and he'll take you through the gardens and show you our demonstration vineyards and our wine sensory gardens, and follow up through the culinary garden with some crude and then a wine tasting.
And the wine sensory garden is pretty cool because if you have a glass of Chardonnay, there's all the sort of fruit flavors there being demonstrated that you can find in the nose or in the palate of a Chardonnay, like lemon, pear, apple, melon, the lemon grass I think was there also. And then on the Pinot, as an example side, you have strawberry, raspberry, blackberry,
cherry, plum,
yeah, black cherry.
Yeah.
And then there's so many different kinds of mints here. There's more mints than I knew existed. There's the strawberry mint, there's regular mint, there's chocolate mint, there's
orange mint, my favorite.
Orange, yeah. So everything you can, the fun thing is to touch these or grab a leaf and smell the leaf or break the leaf or even eat the leaf. And it's the wildest thing. It brings a smile to your eye.
Yeah.
And face.
Well, thanks for joining us in the garden. Let's go over and see what Justin's up to.
Cool. Is your wine back?
Thank you.
Cheers. So let's see if we can.
I was just curious, Tucker, how often are you there doing tours? Can people sign up directly to walk around with you?
I'm here 5-6 days a week, but people could go on kj.com to sign up for our garden tours.
Great.
So Tucker bought me these beautiful veggies earlier this morning. Made a nice little display for me. So I'm going to start off first with the steak dish. So I got a beautiful flat iron steak here. Flat iron's a great cut. It's easy to cook. You want to cook it really fresh soon after you buy it because it kind of gets a real irony flavor. It's super simple. There's not a lot of waste on it. You just want to clean up any little bit of silver skin that's on there. And then I got the big green egg fired up. It's probably about 550, 600 degrees right now. And one thing about the green egg, it's an amazing piece of equipment, but you got to be really careful. You got to do what's called a burp. And basically, you got to lift the lid open just a little bit to let some air in there before you open it all the way. Because when it gets really hot like that, it's kind of craving oxygen. And if you open it straight away, it'll shoot a flame, and you'll clean up your arm hairs and your eyebrows if you're not careful. So
mustache too.
Yeah, you gotta watch out for the mustache. So I'm just gonna season this liberally with a little salt there, and then a little burp. We got that pan, it's ripping hot, and we're just gonna add some oil to the pan, a couple tablespoons, and then throw the steak right in there. Season this side with salt, and we'll let that get cooking. One thing you want to do is you always want to dry your meat off because it's going to help, because if it has a lot of moisture, it's going to kind of steam when you first put it in the pan. So while that's cooking, I'm going to show you part of my other dish, the Green Goddess. And Green Goddess is just a beautiful dressing. It was invented at the Palace Hotel in San Francisco, and it kind of helped the artichoke become famous because a lot of people didn't know how to eat artichokes, how to enjoy them, and the chef came up with the dressing there, and they started putting on artichokes, and people fell in love with it. So I'm going to start by, I got a really cool blender here. It's called a Thermomix. It's kind of top of the line blender. It blends, it heats, it cooks, it does all kinds of cool stuff. I'm going to add half a shallot and 1 clove of garlic. And this recipe is from our cookbook, which is really cool. It's called Seasoned Cookbook. It won Cookbook of the Year in 2019, and I think it got carried over into 2020. So they didn't do it last year.
But Tucker gives tips about gardening. Randy talks about wine. We have a master sommelier, Michael Jordan, not the basketball player, another one. But he does the wine pairings for us. Our pastry chef Buttercup does some desserts, and Tracy does a lot of the dishes with myself. So it's fun. You know, that some of the dishes are fine, some of the veggies, but it's a good starting point. And recipes are like a roadmap, so you just gotta get on the road and go from there. So now I'm gonna add some beautiful parsley leaves from the garden and some fresh basil. And then tarragon, fresh dill. I got some chives here that are minced up.
This is the new Sonoma County cooking channel.
Right. And then we have a scallion, the white part and the green part chopped up. Give it a little pinch of salt. And then I have some yogurt. The yogurt makes it a little bit lighter. Traditionally, it's sour cream in the recipe, but I like the tang that the yogurt gives it. And then some mayonnaise. This is a fun one. If you haven't had this, it's a Japanese mayonnaise, Kewpie mayonnaise. Where I'm come from, they use mayonnaise, but this one's really, really good as well. So we're gonna put a couple quarter cup and a couple tablespoons of mayo in there.
Justin, say the name of that Japanese mayonnaise again.
Kewpie, I think that's how you say it.
Yeah.
So Kewpie. It's
Like
really
Kewpie
good,
dough.
rich, and it's a little bit sweet too. And then we're gonna take a half of avocado. Scoop that in there.
So how do you know when your avocado is perfectly ripe
You just gotta,
without cutting it open?
yeah, you just gotta, sometimes you can check by the top, but you just gotta squeeze it, and try not to bruise it. Let me just check this steak real quick, probably time to flip it. Okay, the burnt.
And for those looking in the season cookbook for this recipe, it's called Farmer T's Baby Vegetables with Green Goddess Dressing. And we'll put that in the chat as well, but just so you know where to find it.
All right, so I forgot one ingredient. You can either take it or leave it. Anchovy, it's a traditional ingredient, but if you're keeping it vegetarian, a lot of times we'll leave the anchovies out. The anchovies add some nice salt and kind of umami flavor. We're gonna add them today. And then this is verjus. Verjus is sour grape juice. Funny story, when I first started working here, I was working for another chef that was here, and I was looking at the bottle. He was buying verjus from France, and I looked at the ingredients, and it had one ingredient that said grapes on it. And I said, man, I think we probably have everything we need right outside to make this stuff. So I called Randy and I said, hey, Randy, can you make verjus? And he said, of course. And then he said, what's verjus? But that's the kind of guy he is. He was already in from the moment I asked. But I explained to him that verjus was sour grape juice that's not fermented. And he said, well, why on earth would you want to do that, Justin? I explained to him that verjus is nice acid in place of vinegar. So Randy started making verjus for us. So we make a Chardonnay and a Pinot Verjus. And they harvest the grapes in July.
Right, at the grain drop.
Yeah, again, fine winemaking. Randy goes through, he has his crew count the clusters and check out, make sure they're looking really good, figure out their projections of the people they need to pick it and where it needs to go. And when they're doing that, they're looking for any blemishes or any that aren't going to ripen easily, and they green drop, which is they cut it and traditionally drop it on the ground. Instead of dropping it on the ground, they
drop it into a bucket.
And they make verjus for us. So it translates from French to green juice, and it's kind of like the lemon of the grape world. So you can add really nice acid to it. It's great in cocktails, sauces. It's a super fun ingredient. You're starting to see it a lot more.
It's better for, for winemakers really like to use verjus, at least I do, more than vinegar, because vinegar is like our arch enemy in the wine world, and verjus is just so natural, and it doesn't have that sort of vinegary acetone character. So it's healthy for you too.
So we're gonna excuse the noise. We're gonna crank this up for just a minute. And blend that together real quick here.
Oh my.
So we just need a little more liquid. Give it one more spin. And the nice thing about it is if you're making a salad, you can make it thinner. But today we're going to keep it a little thicker because we want to be able to dip these beautiful veggies in. I'm going to pull my steak out real quick.
And so with this green goddess, we've got some fresh dug baby carrots, baby radishes, baby turnips. There we go. Thank you, Randy. And then here's some of my favorites. These are Mexican sour gherkins, also called cucamelons or mouse melons. These are so much fun. Really nice acidity, pop in your mouth. And then right here we have some ice lettuce from coastal Africa. And this is one of my favorite crops to grow.
You can see the crystals on the leaves and the stems.
What's it taste like, Tucker? What's an ice lettuce?
So being a coastal plant, it uptakes salts from the soil, so it has a nice briny flavor. There's some slight citrus notes to it. Obviously, it's not a true lettuce, it's a succulent, so there's a nice crunch to it. And then we also have this oyster leaf from the moors of Scotland. And just like you would imagine, this tastes just like oysters. So this is one of our most popular crops to grow.
Literally tastes like a fresh raw oyster. It's amazing.
And so it's one of our hopes by visiting our garden that we can inspire people to grow some produce of their own, whether it's on your back patio, in your backyard, or expand upon your existing gardens. And if you don't feel like you can handle that, I always encourage people to search out your local farmers market. There are so many amazing farmers in Sonoma County, and we are in such a beautiful place for fresh produce.
So
that's why we're so fortunate. I mean, the grapes are amazing. You know, we get the hot days, we get the cool breeze at night, and we can grow all this stuff here. The soil is great.
This is the Provence of California, of America.
Yeah.
Or the American Provence of the world.
This is really what I think Sonoma County is about, just getting fresh vegetables right from the garden. And I love what you put in the cookbook, you know, taste before you commit to it. And really, if the vegetable already tastes good, you don't have to do much. You're really just cutting it up and then dipping it into the sauce or into the dressing. And then paired with that beautiful Chardonnay. Do you have a favorite vegetable, Randy, that you like with that?
Favorite vegetable?
With the chard.
Really kind of guy.
Come on, Randy.
I like these because these are cute. These little guys right here, they look like, you know, little baby watermelons. They're fun. Tucker actually gave me a plant once, and it's a fingerling, right?
Oh yeah,
fingerling, and it grows this little thing that looks like actually almost like this, but longer, 2 to 3 inches long. And you pick it, and it's green on the outside, and you slice it open and squeeze it, and there's like 100 or 150 little translucent little beads inside it. It's like white caviar.
Yeah, so we call it citrus caviar. So
Okay,
they're
that makes
finger
sense.
lines.
But if I were going to pick the one, green vegetable that I like, it's really this right here. This is the ice lettuce, and it looks like you've got all those beautiful crystals right there. And the reason I like it is because it doesn't taste like any other vegetable. It's crispy. It's like eating aloe vera, something like that. It looks like it. Doesn't taste like broccoli, thank goodness. Salty.
So real quick, I'm gonna while my steak's resting, I'm gonna go ahead and cook off some spigarello and some of the cherry tomatoes, a little side dish. And this is a great one because it's a one-pan meal. If it's hot and you don't feel like heating up your house, you can throw your pan on the grill like we did today. But all we're gonna do is just add a little olive oil to the pan and some garlic, and then we're gonna cook that spigarello in it. So here's a good little trick so you don't cut your fingers. It's a mandolin. It's one of the main reasons people go to the emergency room here in Sonoma County, I was told. But you don't have to. If you put your garlic on a fork, you can shave it nice and thin. So you just do that, and then you don't have to worry about your fingers as long as your garlic doesn't fall off. So then when you get down to the bottom, you just want to keep the fork to the side so you don't damage your blade. So I got that nice thinly shaved garlic. I'm going to add a little bit of oil to my cast iron pan. Throw that in there. Then I have this beautiful spigarello. And again, this is kind of like a kale, cross between kale and broccoli flavor. And I'm just going to give it a rough chop. And we're going to sear it off.
And that's what we just walked by.
Yes.
And it has a really nice pop. It'll actually get crispy like kale, but we're not really going for that right now. Our pan's so hot from the grill, this is going to cook super fast. Basically just want to wet it, and then we're going to add some whole cherry tomatoes, and they're going to kind of pop and make a nice kind of light tomato juice. Let that cook for just a minute. It's always important to rest your meat. It's good to rest it on a rack. Got a little side shot for me there, Sean. So again, super easy, one pan meal. I'm the executive chef at my house, but I'm also the head dishwasher, so I like to cook outside with one pan when I'm at home. It's a little different here at work. We have a lot of folks that help clean up. At home, it's all me.
When do you want to try the Pinot, Justin?
I was gonna say, Randy, I think maybe we should talk about the two reds that we're gonna be tasting with this.
So
The reds will be nice.
So we have the Jackson Estate, the Cloud Landing from that sort of newer appellation down in Petaluma called the Petaluma Gap, and it's a really nice spot down there. It's kind of just east of obviously Petaluma, and it heads out towards Highway 121 there. So you do have the cool effect of, it's also effectively part of the Sonoma coast too. So it's obviously cold, cool. You have the San Pablo Bay cooling off that area coming up from the south. You have the breezes coming over the Petaluma Gap, bringing in the fog and the cool air in the evening. We have all different kinds of clones there. It's 100% Pinot, similar to the Chardonnay being 100% Chardonnay. But all these little clones, be it Chardonnay, Pinot, or what have you, bring little nuances to the wine. So as an example, 667, very small berry, very dark fruit. 828 is a clone that grows like a soldier, straight up. The 777s bring nice aromatics to the wine. So what we are always looking for in a Pinot is nice color for starters, and then to be able to pick out and pull out the right black fruits, black cherries and blackberries and things like that. So it's got to smell good, it's got to look good, it's got to taste good. And what's really nice about a really fine and refined Pinot such as this is it's very silky. on the tip of the tongue and on the side of the mouth, a different kind of a silkiness than the Chardonnay has. This is more on the center of your palate. And I think that is really due to the close proximity that the vines are planted. It's what we call a high density planting. So historically in Sonoma County, vines were 10 foot by 12 foot apart, more or less. You could drive a truck down the row. Then they got closer. They went down to sort of 8 feet and 6 feet. And then the high density plantings are about 4 foot or so in the row. And then 3, 4, or 5 in the actual row of grapes. So each vine works a little less, and the yields are a little lower on a per vine basis. But there's some phenomena that happens both here at the Petaluma Gap Vineyard, Cloud Landing, and also at our vineyards down in Monterey, Panorama, where it's a really tight spacing, very much like over in Burgundy. It's an American version of Burgundy, because in Burgundy, the vines are planted 1 meter by 1 meter, which is 3.3 feet by 3.3 feet. And our vineyards, our tightest, go 3 foot by 4 foot. So it's an American version of that tight spacing. But there's something about that. It's not able to be explained scientifically that adds the silky essence to the palate. Then, of course, it has the nice finish and soft tannins, which you want. And that softness in the finish beckons you for another sip, and maybe another sip after that. Aged in the finest French oak, of course. And when we ferment this for a red grape, making red wine, of course, you're picking the whole cluster and the whole berry and just basically slightly cracking them and putting them into a tank, an open top tank, like an old, a small tank, kind of like the old fashioned hot tubs. And then you start fermenting in there and doing gentle punch downs 3 times a day, because it's a very delicate grape. And then after the fermentation is complete, you drain off what's now the juice has been converted into wine, and drain that off. And then you got to press the skins to get the last of the juice out. Age it in French oak barrels for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 months. Then work on your blends, and voila. That's all there is to it.
Easy peasy. Justin, let's see that steak.
Yeah, let me just slice it up. So I got the spigarella laid down. Main thing, whenever you're slicing meat, you want to slice against the grain, because that's going to make it a little more tender. This is actually a pretty tender cut.
Randy, you're not going to get any unless you have some spigarella.
Oh, I'm out of luck. Oh my gosh. Fantastic.
It's really, it's a meaty flavor, you know, it's definitely it tastes beefy, which is nice. But it's not a super fatty cut, you know, it's got a little marbling, but it doesn't come across as fatty like a ribeye would. So, I mean, I think you could go Pinot with this one, you know, even a lighter bodied Syrah.
Yeah, no, it's soft.
Yeah.
And juicy and cooked to perfection. That would be like a medium rare, right?
Yeah, that's probably, medium rare. And then we'll throw a couple cherry tomatoes on top, and they get a little bit of smokiness from the grill and that sear. So we'll add just a touch of black pepper. And it's always nice to add some finishing salt. This is sel gris, French crunchy salt. So a lot of times when you get a restaurant and you know the dish has like a really nice crunch to it and nice salt, that's what it is. Chefs use different salts throughout the cooking, but a lot of times finish with a nice crunchy textured salt.
So I was able to, I had some Pinot in my glass to try with the first bite. I now just kind of toss that and I have a little cab.
Yeah, I'm going to try and find a little fattier piece for you.
This is our Jackson Estate Alexander Valley Cabernet, obviously from Alexander Valley, but it's sort of a facetious saying or name. You know, it's the Alexander Valley appellation, but the funny part about it is none of our grapes are in the valley floor. They're all on the mountains and the hillsides surrounding the valley down below.
We look down on those other grapes?
We do look down on them. And what's important, because the view is really cool, so we also have a saying, because these vineyards are running 2,000 feet more or less in elevation above the valley floor, which is probably about 250 feet above sea level. So the vineyard has a great view. All the vineyards that go into this have a wonderful view. The higher up you go, the cooler it is, so you have a longer growing season. The higher up you go, the poorer the soil is, the rockier it is. So it's harder for the poor little vine to grow. And when it does grow, the clusters are smaller, and more importantly, the berries are smaller. And the smaller the berry, the greater the ratio of the skin to the juice, because the skin brings a lot of the dark color and the tannins. So the higher that ratio, the darker the wine will be. As you can see and you look at it, it's obviously a lot darker than the Pinot, but it's going to be a lot darker than your average Cab because it is from a mountain. And it has, when you taste it, the tannins are there. There's obviously more tannins in a Cab than there is in most Pinots, but the tannins are not enamel stripping. I mean, they're great tannins. Here they're kind of like laser-like, front to back type tannins, but mouth filling. And we want the tannins to be somewhat resolved and softened so that you will want another sip after the first one. If they're too rough, like an old-fashioned Chianti, you'll take one sip and be done with it.
Yeah, I mean, this is really, this is 16, I believe. It's really smooth. I mean, surprisingly
Yeah.
smooth.
Yeah, it is vintage 16. So
Yeah, it's a long tannin, but it does soften really nicely at the end there.
So I hope everybody has their steak and they can taste it with us.
I was going to ask Tucker, the Spigarello is not something I've ever cooked with. Is that pretty easy to find? Is there a good substitute? And then there's also a question in the Q&A, like, can you get those vegetables there? I don't know if you guys are still doing your vegetable boxes, but that could be a good time to talk about that.
Yeah, so we get a lot of our seeds from Chardonnay Seed Company, and they carry the Spigarello. But there's also another company called Seeds from Italy, where we get seeds and they carry the Spigarello. More and more places are carrying seeds for like the ice lettuce and the oyster leaf. So I suggest people just doing a Google search. When I first started growing some of these things 15 plus years ago, I had to go to seed companies in France primarily. And I don't speak French, so I had to guess my way through these websites. But just like I never ate a lot of arugula when I was growing up, and now arugula is everywhere. Pretty soon you're going to see all of these crops pretty much all over.
I think you can find Spigarello at the farmer's market.
Yeah.
So, and if you can't, depending on where you live, go to the farmer's market, find a cool farmer, and tell them what you want.
Yeah.
They can
grow it
next year. So it just helps the process evolve. So, but the Spigarello is fun, and it's cool because it's like kale, but it doesn't have that bitterness that kale has. But kale could be a really good substitute for this, or the leaves of some broccoli too.
Right.
Broccoli leaves, but this has a really sweet finish, which is really nice.
Yeah. And I feel like pretty much any green could go with this. If you like Swiss chard, throw some Swiss chard in there, or mustard greens.
Yeah. It's pretty simple. It's more about just cooking it quickly. You have that nice fond from the beef where you sear it off. You got that flavor and olive oil in there. It's a really simple dish. I think there's about 5 ingredients, but it's good, easy weeknight dish. So
yeah, and we're in the midst of tomato season, so this is a good dish.
When do the little baby tomatoes, cherry tomatoes that are kind of like the yellowish orange color that are like sweet candy?
Oh, the Sungolds, the sun sugars.
Yeah, when do they get going?
They're coming on. Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah.
Where are they now?
They're on the other side in the other field.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think just like the grapes, those cool nights and hot days really make the tomatoes nice. The main thing is you don't want to overwater your tomatoes,
right?
Because that really waters the flavor down. So right now, how many times a week are you watering the tomatoes?
Depends on the weather, but a couple times a week.
Yeah. And once the fruit sets, you kind of slow down on the watering because it just concentrates the flavor, kind of like the grape.
Right.
And this year here in the garden, we have what's called a currant tomato. So they're about the size of an English pea.
Oh,
They're a lot of fun.
wow.
Yeah.
So we've grown lots of different varieties. We used to have our tomato festival, and we saved a lot of the seeds over the years. And Tucker's brought some of his favorite seeds into the mix. So we have probably about 50 different varieties this year.
Right now, yeah.
And we also have lots of different basils, which is fun to play around with too. Lots of different basil flavors, and mints are really cool. There's this mint over here that, I don't know, did you guys talk about that one?
A little bit.
The chocolate mint. To me, it smells exactly like an Amy's candy. I love that one.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And then strawberry smells like Bubblicious or Hubba Bubba Bubble Gum. It's really cool. So we got lots of stuff to come check out. Come walk around the garden and do a little scratch and sniff tour of the garden.
And then finish up with a nice, wonderful food and wine pairing.
Yeah.
At the wine center on the back patio area. It's almost like a lunch. It's a killer
It is.
pairing.
I've had the pleasure of sitting down and actually experiencing that start to finish, and the wonderful wines that were paired with it, overlooking the gardens. It was really remarkable. And he's not featured here, but Buttercup was there with a dessert. Actually, I think 3 different desserts. It was a little bit over the top, but perfect. So if you have not visited KJ, I would definitely recommend you doing that. And for Taste of Sonoma 2022, Kendall-Jackson is going to be our home for in-person, right in those gardens, so you can walk around, experience it. So keep updated. We'll send you more information as we narrow down the specifics, but 2022 in person at Kendall-Jackson will be where it's at. But do visit it and do the sit down seated pairing, because that's amazing and incredible. So
And some of those pairings are wines that you can't really get anywhere else in the world,
right.
except right here. And they're very specific, site-specific vineyard designates. Some might just be 100 cases, 100 case bottling, or 250 or 400. Very, very small, very tiny, but ultra fine, ultra elite, exceptionally enjoyable.
Randy, I'm going to post where they can purchase the wines right now that you're doing, but also is there, where can they find these, just in case, for future?
Well, KJ.com, you can buy all the wines here, or is it Your Wine Store? Yourwinestore.com is a website we've set up, so it has many, if not all, of the Kendall-Jackson wines and some of our sister wineries' wines.
Yeah.
Now, those would be the 2 most direct ways to get to these, for
Perfect.
sure.
Yeah. So I posted both of those on here. And are there wine pairings in the season cookbook as well?
Yep. Every recipe is paired with the wine from Jackson Family Wines by Michael Jordan, Master Sommelier.
Awesome. All right, I'm looking at the other questions. Again, so folks can't purchase any of the plants from the winery, correct? The oyster leaf one?
Not currently.
Okay.
We sell directly to restaurants, mostly in San Francisco. Tucker sells to a lot of the Michelin star restaurants down there. But we do the farm boxes, and I don't know, does oyster leaf end up in the farm box from time to time? Or?
It has on occasion.
Yeah. And then we got another question that says, how do you stop all the animals from eating the gorgeous vegetables? And I think we showed that a little bit earlier. But
we talked about these hoops right here, and we put netting over our crops, which keeps out deer and rabbits. And as far as gophers, we're constantly trapping, but we have owl boxes, owl houses, raptor perches. So it's a holistic approach.
And we're fortunate enough to have a deer fence around the property as well, which has helped significantly.
Yeah.
And the names again of the seed company, Tucker, that you mentioned?
Johnny's Selected Seeds and Seeds from Italy, or Seeds of Italy.
Okay. Sending that. Awesome. Oh, is there another question? We have been members for 11 years, and this is the best winery in Sonoma County.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers to that.
See you soon.
Yes, come back. Obviously, it's open and they're just doing some incredible things. I would say also, if there are a couple of other webinars coming up with the Taste of Sonoma campaign on, what's today? On the 27th, we're doing a Spirit of Sonoma webinar with 3 different wineries in Sonoma County that do a lot of work with nonprofits. That's incredible. And then the 29th, wine.com is also doing a red Sonoma County wines from different wineries, and La Crema, which is part of the Jackson family wine family, will be there as well. So go to tasteofsonoma.com to check out any of the other webinars. If we don't have any additional questions, I just want to say thank you to Kendall-Jackson, thank you Randy, Tucker, and Justin for showcasing this. It looks stunning. You guys always do a fantastic job, and we can't wait to come in person for Taste of Sonoma 2022. But in the meantime, I'm sure you'll get a lot of visitors from this as well.
Well, we can't wait to see everybody next year, and all the visitors that come between now and then. So
you guys are probably pretty busy these days.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers to everyone.
Cheers.